Hi everybody, I'm Sean Briscom and you're watching The Inside Stuff. We're a group of like-minded individuals that just want to cut through all the financial noise out there and drill down onto what's important to you and your family today. If you're interested in getting a copy of everything we're talking about today, just go to theinsidestuff.org. That's theinsidestuff.org and click on that free info tab in the top right corner. You can download a free copy of everything we're discussing. Before I forget, if you're interested in looking into any of the projects we're working on currently, click on the Inside Circle. You can take a brief survey and we'll reach out and contact you to see if it's a fit. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the inside stuff. Okay, the first thing I'd like to draw your attention to is the article here called Retirement Optimism Falls. You know, what's interesting to me is that not interesting, it's really sad, but when you think about it, just the hubris of our central government, central bankers and central government officials and just central planners who believe that they can actually turn the knob and pull a lever and control things is just, it's astounding to me. But anyway, the article says clearly that people may not be quite as down in the dumps about their retirement prospects as they were at the height or the depths of the Great Recession, but that doesn't mean that they're optimistic about it. And so this article is fascinating. It goes on to talk about how down in the dumps people are about their retirement accounts because of just plain manipulation in the markets. You know, no other reason than that. So again, go to theinsidestuff.org, download this article, read it, check it out. I think you'll find it interesting. The second article that I thought was interesting that you really need to be paying attention to is that right now the stock market is completely propped up by the Fed. If you haven't come to that conclusion by now, I don't know what rock you've been under, but it's time to crawl out from under the rock and look your market in the eye and realize that the only thing supporting the stock market is the Federal Reserve, okay? What does that look like? Well, when the Federal Reserve makes money so cheap and available at 0%, and it allows corporations, major corporations, international and multinational corporations, as well as domestic corporations, when it allows them to borrow money at 0%, what do you think they're going to do with that free money? Where are they going to spend that money? Well, most companies, most corporations right now are buying back their own stock or buying up other companies and including that new company's earnings as if it were their own. So the stock market price and the rally that you've seen since 2008 has been completely artificial because the earnings number on the PE ratio for those stocks is completely made up. It's fake. It's either done through stock buybacks or purchasing other companies and counting their earnings as their own, okay? So another great article from Investment News here. So how do you play this game? You know, where do you go from here? Well, the challenge that most people have is that there are very few vehicles now available to start planning and saving for retirement, and the most common being 401ks. This article, just you got to read it. It's from the American Prospect, and it's basically, the title is How 401ks Have Worsened the Retirement Gap. Now, we talk a lot about the income gap, right, or income inequality. What about retirement inequality? You know, what is your retirement going to look like in comparison to your peak earning years? How equal will your income be at retirement? In other words, how are you going to be able to generate enough income at retirement and guarantee that income for the rest of your life so that you don't have to take a pay cut when you retire, or so you don't have to lower your lifestyle? That's the challenge that most people have. Well, if you're in a 401k right now, then you realize that you've got even a bigger problem at hand. Not only do you have to worry about market volatility and risk, but you also got to worry about how quickly you can spend that money down without running out of money, right? So the two challenges now are, how much money do we save for retirement and where should we put it? And so if you're interested in solving that problem, go to the Inside Circle, click on that Inside Circle tab in the Inside Stuff, complete the survey. We'll get in touch with you and see if we're a fit working together. We do have solutions to these retirement problems. You may have a savings plan or a retirement plan, but what's your income plan at retirement? How are you going to generate income at retirement? What's the game plan? I have yet to have one person tell me that their financial planner has a well thought out, planned out approach to income at retirement. So, but I'm getting off topic here. The privatization of retirement plans has helped make retirement inequality even greater than income inequality. Over the past couple of decades, the shift from pensions, remember, what is a pension? Well, if you think about it, a pension is a fund that is set up by a corporation that doesn't know how much money is going to be going into it. They don't know how to effectively manage that money to grow that fund so that there's enough cash available to guarantee income when you retire. And they also don't know what inflation and taxes are going to look like in the future, so they have no idea how much income you're going to need at retirement. So think about that. You've got this retirement vehicle called a pension. They don't know how much is going into it. They don't know how to manage it, and they don't know how much you need 30 years from now or 20 years from now or even 10 years from now. So how valid is a pension program today? It's not. So the government forced everybody, they forced our hands, and they privatized retirement planning, and they called it a 401k. And so the burden or the responsibility of retirement, building that retirement income stream, has come off the shoulders of the company and is now squarely on your shoulders. And so because it's squarely on our shoulders, now it's more and more difficult for us to play the guessing game in the market and beat these high-frequency trading platforms or these huge funds that are moving the market for their own benefit. So, the article goes on to say, we used to have a fairly egalitarian retirement system, but we don't anymore. Chief economist Monique Morrissey said during the Past Call Thursday, Morrissey says that's largely due to the rise of 401ks as the primary retirement plan. Now remember, Social Security was supposed to be the original retirement plan. 401ks, when they were first introduced, they were only introduced to supplement your income at retirement with Social Security or your pension. It was just supplemental income. Now they're becoming more and more prominent, and nowadays they're the only retirement vehicle that a lot of people have. So she goes on to say, however, while 401ks have become the most common type of retirement plan, they provide only a small source of income for seniors. Only a small source of income. So again, I ask you, what is your income plan at retirement? Okay? She says the bottom 60% of working age families receive 17% of total income, but hold 7% of retirement account balances. All right? What does that mean? That just means that there's huge gaps between the goals of retirement and where you're at, right? Meanwhile, the top 20% received 63% of the income and hold 74% of the retirement account balances. So that's insane. The bottom 60% have less than 7% of account balances in their retirement account, right? The top 20% have 74% of their retirement account balances are there for them. So put simply, families that make less money have less money to save for retirement. And so that's where the inequality is coming from. That's where the gap is coming from. So highly recommend that you download this article or the link to the article and read it. It's very informative. Okay. Now, why do I bring up the Fed and the manipulation of the markets? Well, here's the key. CPI, core price inflation, has already adjusted above the Fed's target rate of 2%. Now, the Fed targets inflation rate of 2%. They believe that if the market or if the economy, I should say, if the economy, our national economy grows at the rate of 2% a year, that is safe growth. That is a good conservative growth rate. If it goes above 2%, that means that inflation is setting in. All right. Now, how does the government combat inflation? What do? When prices start to go up, they typically increase interest rates and make it more expensive to borrow money. So that free money that all the corporations are getting, that's pouring into assets right now. And because it's pouring into assets, the price of those assets is going up. Simple supply and demand. But what happens when it gets too hot and those prices increase too quickly? Well, the Fed has to increase interest rates. And what happens then? Everything comes to a grinding halt. Because when you have an asset that is worth $1 bazillion and you're borrowing money to own that asset, that $1 bazillion asset, and the cost of borrowing is zero, what happens when it just ticks up 1%? Think about our own budget. We have a deficit right now, or budget deficit of trillions and trillions of dollars, right? And we're near 0% interest rates. So what happens if interest rates tick up 1%? How are we going to be able to afford the interest payment on all of the debt that we've incurred over the last 6, 7 years, 8 years? If interest rates climb just 1%, the game is over. We can no longer afford the interest expense on the debt that we've accumulated, okay? That's why this is so critical. The Fed is caught in a trap, and we call it ZIRP, the zero interest rate policy that they carry, meaning keeping interest rates near 0%. That's a trap. And as things become more and more expensive, and as inflation sets in, they're winding that trap tighter and tighter and tighter, and it's spring-loaded, so they can't increase interest rates. They just can't. So who knows what's going to happen and how that's going to affect your 401k, but if you haven't gotten out of the market already, it's time. It's time, okay? And the last article that I wanted to show you was the government pension problem. It's like a slow-motion car crash. Problems with government pension funds are severe. All right, there's an analysis that was done of 56 U.S. public pension programs. These are pensions like, the municipal pensions, or, the fireman's pension, or the police pension, or the teacher's pension, things like that are more local. And what happened was that they're finding that there's a huge funding gap between those pensions, between what's needed and what's actually in the fund itself, right? We've got a growing number of people who are retiring. The baby boomers are all set to retire. They're all retiring currently. So more and more people are going to require that income from that pension fund. Well, how much income are they going to need? That's a big unknown. And what about inflation? If inflation spikes or if taxes go up, now how much income are those pensioners going to need? We don't know, right? So it's a huge unknown. Well, how much did they pay into the system over time? Well, some of them paid in a lot, some of them paid in a little bit. We don't know, right? And how was that pension fund managed over the last 20 or 30 years? It's been pretty dismal. So anyway, she goes on to say that I do believe that U.S. cities and towns will continue to suffer. There will be additional bankruptcies following the examples of Detroit, the cities of Vallejo, Stockton, and San Bernardino. Sounds like a song, doesn't it? Vallejo, Stockton, San Bernardino. Anyway, so think about that when you're talking about your retirement income strategies and how to guarantee income in retirement. Don't count on your pensions. Don't count on your 401ks. If you're in the market, you need to get out. If you want solutions to these problems that are real, contact us. Get in touch with us. In fact, go right now to theinsidestuff.org. That's theinsidestuff.org. Click on the Inside Circle tab, fill out the survey, and we'll get in touch with you and see if it's a fit for us to work together. We do have solutions to these income problems for retirees, okay? All right, that's it for this time. I look forward to talking to you next week. Have a great week.